bell and flour. So there are like two ways in which people perform, that is called as a dry milling. For example, I have taken tur dal. It is generally practiced in Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. Tur dal production is obviously higher side, and in this the pulses are subjected to pitting in a roller, and then oil treatment by applying zero point 0.5 to 2% linseed oil or any edible oil. So here the oil is applied so that the seed coat is loosened. Then the pulses are spread in the drying yard for sun drying for 2 to 4 days. The pulses are then tempered by heaping and covering during the nights in between these days. And this is a traditional way of doing it. And after sun drying, again moistened. Here one tries to modify the cotyledon so that you do not have more breakage. Okay, so pulses are moistened uniformly with about 5% of water, and they are kept as such on the heaps overnight for moisture equilibrium. And then after this is done, pulses are allowed to pass from the roller for splitting or dehusking, or that can be done traditionally using the stone chakkis. Okay, about because in India labor is so cheap. Okay, so about 50% of the pulses are dehusked and split in first operation. After this the husk are removed by aspiration, like it is just an aspiration, and the husk is very lighter than the cotyledon. So split dals are then separated from the mixture of husk as well as unhusked whole pulses. So with the density, if you do the aspiration and density, you can separate the husked and unhusked whole pulses. The mixture is once again moistened and dried in the sun, because at this stage also there are the seeds which are remained with the seed coat. Okay, not remained with the husk. Okay, so this process of alternate wetting and drying is repeated until almost all pulses are converted into split dal, and the average yield of these dal by using dry milling is almost 68 to 75%. So this is a overall, if you see a flow diagram for the dry milling of pigeon pea. It is also called as a tur dal. Raw pulses or any pulses could be followed, like, but most commonly in India we consume a lot tur dal. Na? So cleaning is done, wherein husk, chaff, powder, foreign matters are removed. Grading is done, and then you do pitting. Then you have these husk and chuni means powder. Again, scratch pulses. You add oil up to 0.5 to 2% of linseed oil or any edible oil is added. Then again, it is done either by dehusker or using the stone chakki or hand pounding. Then stun drying and tempering is done for 2 to 4 days. And then here the water, 5% water is added by spraying and overnight to get the moisture equilibration. Again the dehusking and splitting is done, and the husky and powder is removed by aspiration. You do sieving, grading, and dal is obtained. There is one more method that is more commonly followed, is called as a wet milling method, wherein seed is cleaned, and you see here water is used. It is called as a soaking and conditioning. So we all know, we have seen that soaking and conditioning helps in easy removal of even parboiling. We have seen, of course this is not parboiling, but soaking, or especially the water loosens the seed coat easily. It modifies the cotyledon, and therefore there will be less breakage. Okay, broken kernel. So seed is cleaned of all foreign matter and usually graded into specific sizes to optimize the yield. Otherwise, if you have too small grain, too big grain, so this will come between the two roller, but this will fall down if you have some specific aperture. So therefore the grading is done to obtain the same size grain. Then it is soaked for, the soaking ranges from 3 to 14 hours depending upon the pulse species. Like moong, it is if it is moong it is less time, if it is chana it is more time, if it is tur dal even it is more time. So it is depending upon the pulse species, individual milling preference, and then after that the sun drying is carried out to for 3 to 4 days. So it is in developing country, it is done in open yard, in developed country like in the western country it is like mechanically dried, and then because they do not have sun, and therefore it is then finally milled. So here after conditioning, in India particularly, pigeon pea it is used like mixing with the red earth, okay, and then here drying is done, and then you remove at this stage earth by sieving, okay, it just gets easily removed, and then you perform milling by any of the operations, seed coat, small broken powder is removed by aspiration, and then sieving is done to get the larger brokens, and whole seed are also removed here, and you get only pure split products, okay. So this wet processing or wet dry milling is very very common in the rural area, particularly in India. And this method is very very simple and often a single pass through mill, which will be sufficient to produce dal. So soaking is most commonly used because you have less breakage and more yield, and that is what is the objective of dal milling. So a long period of soaking will increase the ease of milling. Also, it will increase the percentage of if you do a lot. Okay, so the resulting dal can also be unacceptably firm. So therefore, it is also advisable to optimize the soaking condition. And therefore, as I mentioned in the previous initial cases, that having optimum condition is very very important. Long soaking can also cause hollow hurt. See, hollow hurt, and that is why today whatever in the market you get, this is for long soaking, and that is why immediately this dal gets cooked very easily, okay. So a variation of this method like traditionally used for pigeon pea involves mixing of seed with the red earth, and the earth used is here 5%, and after soaking 3 to 12 hours followed by conditioning overnight and alternate sun drying conditioning for 2 to 6 days. So this red earth is then removed by sieving and the seeds are mixed. Okay, this is the same that I have explained. And what does this red earth do? So this it is believed that this red earth increases the rate of drying, which facilitates the loosening of the seed coat of like very very easily. Okay, pigeon pea. So if you have this pigeon pea and if you coat this, so the uh, heat transfer rate is maximum and drying is facilitation is faster. The adhesive and abrasive property of red earth also appear to help with the dehulling. Of course, we are removing this. Disadvantage of this method are that seeds can be squashed by workers' feet during the red earth mixing, that the fine dust often remain adhered to the dal, and this is not a very very clean method, okay. So this method was adopted around 50 years back, and of course people still use it, and it has now been used by mustard oil is being used and heating it at 80 to 85 degrees Celsius instead of red earth. Yeah. So dry milling I have already explained. Use of oil, sun drying, expensive in or it is done in the mill. So this is the same graph that I have explained. So a lot of products are being made using pulses like puffed products. We call it as a futana, or it is called as a puffed chana, which is very very commonly consumed. So here this is the desi. As I mentioned, there are lots of variety like Kabuli chana, but desi chanas are most preferred in making this because they have a correct amount of starch and protein to get. So here desi chana is taken, that is cleaned and graded to remove the stones, and then they are toasted on a hot sand. The temperature here used is 140 degrees Celsius for just 2 minutes. These toasted chickpeas are then tempered by wrapping them in the cloth for almost 100 minutes. It's a long time, and during which the modification of the endosperm or cotyledon takes place, wherein we have seen how rice flakes or rice murmura takes place. So this modification of the starch takes place because of the this cloth and holding the tempered seeds in perforated strainer. And these are can be also dipped. Momentary dipping in the seeds in the water is carried out. These are all steps to modify the cotyledon or absorption of the starch. And then we know that at high temperature short time the starch gets gelatinized and then it gets swelled and puffed, and that should happen within a short period of time. And their draining of excess water is done, and then these moisture absorbed chickpeas are then roasted at 240 to 250. See, this you can perform even at home, using sand. So here in the water, sometimes people use salt, so that then you call them salted futana. Okay. And then the final roasting here is done at 240 to 250 degrees Celsius, either using hot stand or electrical ovens. And then you collect the puffed chickpeas. Okay, so here the grains are exposed to a very high steam as well as steam pressure, because you are adding water, na? So which causes the grains to burst open because of the pressure. The puffed grains and pulses may be further processed by roasting, sorry, and mixing with the other ingredients. So this is sand roasting. You see in India, nukkad and then fair markets or small markets, roadside. You see these people have this sieve, and this is the sand. So they put this sand on. This is the bhatti. You see, it is made up of these bricks, and then inside there is lot of heat. And on this sand, they put their chickpeas, and then when they put their chickpeas at high temperature of 250 to 240 degrees Celsius, these grains are puffed. Okay, and then with the sand can be separated from the flaked putanas. Okay, so these pulses are exposed to hot sand while temperature of sand is about 250 degrees Celsius. And due to their sudden thermal gradient, the moisture inside the grain vaporizes and tries to escape through the micropores, expanding the starchy endosperm inside. So this is the mechanism through which the futana happens. Okay, the texture, the modification of the starch, modification of the protein. I have already explained that in this extrusion. Okay, the biochemical changes that takes place. So this is very similar to that. So Bengal gram can also be puffed with a lot of in India. This can be done for sorghum. This can be done for putana, moong, soya bean, and so many other legumes and pulses. Okay, so then it is roasted at 170 degrees Celsius for 75 seconds, and then soaked in water for 5 seconds, and impacted between roller or hot plate for dehusking if you want. Under these conditions, the bulk volume of grain is doubled and puffed. Okay, so you can have see this puffed putana can be used. This is used in chuda. Okay, these are split futana, we call it, or this is a salted futana or salted, or the turmeric is also added. So then there are a lot of machines are used. Gun puffing can be also used, or traditionally sand roasting can also be used. So gun puffing is a process in which the milled grains or these pulses can be under high pressure, can be preheated and then superheated. Steam can be introduced into them, and then you can modify their texture. The steam pressure is very very critical, and that results into giving you the final texture of the product and the puffed product. So here therefore these machines which can maintain these steam pressures are very very important. So as too low pressure would result into product lacking crispiness, and too high pressure would shatter the pulses. Okay, literally they will become powder, like they will shatter. So therefore an optimum pressure is very very important. Okay, so sufficient time is allowed for the superheated steam to cook and the grain in the semi plastic state. So here we have already seen how the starch and protein gets modified at high temperature short time treatment in extrusion. If some of you have missed, you can refer to the recorded lectures. Okay, so in the end, pressure is suddenly released for obtaining the crispy puffed grain. So flaking. So pulses are softened by partially cooking in steam. They are then pressed. This is called as a chana chor garam. Chor hai ya jor hai, I do not know, but I think this is what they call. Mm, Haldiram is making these type of products, but I have seen locally they are sold in any state if you go. Okay, so pulses are softened by partially cooking in steam. They are then pressed or rolled into flakes, which are subsequently dried. And such partially cooked pulses may be used as a quick cooking or ready to eat. Generally, we consume it as it is, like we put चाट मसाला, chili, salt और कुछ भी डाल के हम लोग खा सकते हैं. Okay, ओनियन, कोरिएंडर और उसका भेल बना के भी खाते हैं. So both flaked and puffed pulses are eaten as such, or can be and they, because this is like very hygroscopic. Okay, and they need to be packed in a moisture proof container. The moisture content must be low, 7%, below 7%. So the product becomes soggy and tough if the product is not properly. So how it is made, it was very interesting. I do not know if you can share the voice, but this is uh, obtained. Okay, and then they are packed. So these flaked pulses in a thin, crispy snack is mainly used as only snack, but they can be either used or they can be further converted into various form. As I said, bhel or any other snacks in India, we can use it in a different forms. Okay, so then the most commonly used flour is your besan ka atta, and festival season is coming, and then besan is used in making besan burfi, besan laddu, dhokla, and so many other products are made. So, but the milling of the besan is very similar to your wheat flour milling, and either plate mills could be used, roller mill could be used, or hammer mill of mill will entirely onto the raw material. For example, in dhokla also there are two types of besan, like gargara, which is like little bit coarser, and one is fine. The fine one is used for save making or bhujia making or pakoda making. Okay, bhajis. So here also you need fine besan. But for making maybe for vadi or barfi, you need gargara. Even for dhokla, you need gargara type. So depending upon the application, these meals could be used and what products you are looking. So this is like gargara form. You see, this is like not very fine. So here it's like any flour, any pulses could be taken and they can be converted into flour. So you can convert red gram, green gram, black gram, Bengal gram into flour, and it is just a milling. Either you can use plate mill, roller mill, or hammer mill. Okay, the choice is yours. We have seen this milling of wheat flour, and it is very similar. So with this, I would like to thank you. But if you have any question, you are free to ask me any question on this portion. If you have any question on the portion that I just now completed. So if there are no question, quickly I would like to go ahead with anti-nutritional factor. Quickly, I'm sure you must have. Have you done anti-nutritional factor in some of the lectures? Okay. So what are the anti-nutrients that are present in the legumes and pulses? So you must have known that these legumes or pulses, although they are rich in various nutrients, but their bioavailability of the protein is like really not good because of the presence of these anti-nutritional factors. Okay, so these are like trypsin inhibitor. And this one of the main factor is basically trypsin inhibitor compound which inhibit the enzyme trypsin, and we know that this trypsin enzyme is required for the protein digestion, and presence of trypsin inhibitor will affect the digestibility because this enzyme these inhibitors will bind with this enzyme and they will form the complex. So therefore the digestion of that protein will not take place, but may also reduce the sulfur amino acid content. So it's not just that, but there are sulfur amino acid content also lacks in the body. So tannins also impair protein digestibility. It reduces the bioavailability, and so many other things. So, and in addition to these anti-nutritional factors, there are also fermentable oligo, di, monosaccharides, and polyols that are present in the pulses. Okay, pulses like in especially in chana, a lot of flatulence. It is responsible for these oligosaccharides are responsible. Although recently, very recently, oligosaccharide are considered as good for health because they act as a prebiotics. Okay, like you must have heard about fructo oligosaccharide or FOS. So these pulses, some of the pulses are rich in fermentable oligodimonosaccharide, and polyols are a group of short chain carbohydrate which cannot be digested by humans for energy, and they can cause flatulence in the intestine by being fermented by the gut microbiota. That is why they are called as a prebiotic. So they act as a food for probiotic, and therefore these probiotic eat these FOS, and then they produce short chain fatty acid, and therefore as well as hydrogen gas, and therefore a lot of flatulence. Okay, so how to remove this anti nutritional factor? There are various ways through which these anti nutritional factors could be removed, like extraction, soaking, cooking are the methods under extraction. You can perform thermal degradation of these trypsin inhibitor via autoclaving or extrusion, or enzymatic degradation can be achieved through germination process wherein enzymes are activated, radiolytic degradation or combining methods. Various these out of these, if you combine germination or soaking and cooking, like that. Okay, so how is extraction is done? Although in rural area I have seen this is followed, and here also we many times, chana, whole chana is soaked overnight, or rajma is soaked overnight, so that this digestibility is improved. So alpha galactosidase is an compound which needs to be extracted. Okay, so this alpha galactosidase extraction is based on the principle that the sugars are both water soluble and alcohol soluble. So these pulses can have the solvent pass through their material either passively as in soaking, or actively by sometimes the hot water can also be used for extraction of these anti-nutritional factors. Okay, so these alpha galactoside from the pulse seed can be extracted, and then this water, if you discard, you will get rid of these oligosaccharide or flatulence causing anti-nutritional factors. So soaking is the oldest method and most traditional method for removing these anti-nutritional factors. So these generally the pulses are placed in the pot of water, and here they are overnight, almost 12 to 16 or 18 hours, depending upon the type of pulse. So the water soluble oligosaccharide or galactosides are drawn out by the osmosis into the soaked water. You see, you must have seen at home, this soaked water becomes brown in color or red in color. So the addition of water also initiates a metabolic process in the pulses, which serves to further degrade these alpha galactosides. Okay, so content of alpha galactosides in the soaking water and soaked lentil, and comparing it to the content of alpha galactosidate in the lentil, it was found that leaching only accounted for a small portion of the decrease in alpha galactoside content with respect to this method. Further, like there were two mechanisms explained for during this soaking. So soaking utilizes two mechanisms of alpha galactoside removal. One is extraction, as well as when you soak, when these enzymes come into contact with water, they get activated, and these enzymes act on the compound, and therefore there is a more degradation. And it was through one research, it was observed that soaking overnight reduces almost 50 to 90% of the galactoside. Of course, these all there are various factors that affect on the extraction rate. For example, seed matrix, like if you have a small seed, if you have a big seed, the seed coat is really thick, the variety is different. Sometimes sodium bicarbonate is used to modify the cotyledon and increase the diffusion rate. Also, the water is heated or hot water is used so that the diffusion rate is faster. And as we know that at high temperature, the seed coat of the legume is rendered more permeable, and therefore there is a more alpha galactoside leaches out from this cotyledon into the soaked water. So therefore the time of soaking is also important. People have studied, in fact, from zero day to 6 day soaking, and they have seen that as the time increases, longer period of time removes more, there is more diffusion and more alpha galactosides are leached out. Cooking is most commonly used in India for pulses or legume cooking or dal cooking. Like we use open cooking or we use pressure cooking. Particularly for dal, pressure cooking is used to save the time, because otherwise in the open pan it takes almost more than 1 hour or so. But in the pressure cooker, within 30 minutes, like 50% reduction of time. Some people also soak and then cook either by pressure or by open cooking. Okay. This all depend on the type. For example, moong dal is cooked very quickly, whereas tur dal, because of its cotyledon and different structure or the constituent, it takes a longer time. Chana dal is little bit better, but moong dal is the one which cooks fastest, then chana dal, and then tur dal. So if you look the comparison, each dal is different in its cooking ability. Okay, so cooking in this context refers to the process of boiling a food in water at 99 degrees Celsius, applying heat to the food, and therefore diffusion takes place, and therefore the cooking takes place. Okay, at the same time, the high temperature, that is more than 100 degrees Celsius, causes degradation and hydrolysis of these alpha galactosides within the pulses, and therefore the digestibility also increases. So these raffinose or oligosaccharides were found to degrade at 210 degrees Celsius into two compounds like fructose and alpha galactosidase, that is malibhiose and glucose dimers, and therefore that was more digestible. Autoclaving is another traditional method for autoclaving means your pressure cooking only to cook it faster. So there was one report wherein the raffinose and stachinose or flatulence causing anti-nutritional factors were drastically removed from due to this pressure cooking is almost 49 to 56% of the total alpha galactosidase was removed without soaking. Okay, so these were unsoaked Vicia faba beans and Vigna beans and Lens culinaris beans and Phageolus vulgaris beans. So these beans were not soaked, so directly they were pressure cooked, and it was found that almost 50 to 56% of these alpha galactosides from these beans were easily removed. Okay, in the water soaked pulses, autoclaving removed. So if you do the soaking, what happens in the soaking, the galactosides are least and then you throw them, and then if you pressure cook or autoclave, there is a more reduction. Like if you see, compared to 50 to 56%, here it gone to 60 to 70% of the total alpha galactosides were reduced. We have very recently seen how proteins can be used in modification of the texture or preparation of the protein analog. So extrusion is a very good technology to remove the anti-nutritional factor, because it's a process which applies shear and pressure in addition to a very high temperature, and that high temperature gives rise to thermal stress in order to transform the feed, in this case the paste made from the pulses. You see the texture is look like typically the meat, okay, into a novel product with the transformed functional property as well as nutritional property, wherein there is less anti-nutritional factors and so many benefits. Extrusion chapter, please refer to the extrusion recordings for referring. We had taken almost 3 lecture on extrusion and various biochemical, nutritional, physical changes that are taking place in extrusion, especially cereal as well as proteins. So here we know that the barrel temperature may vary from 120 to 200 also degree Celsius, and that found that this raffinose was significantly decreased. Not just 50 to 60 in cooking, pressure cooking, we saw that it was decreased only 50 to 60, but due to extrusion, it is getting decreased to 58 to 82%. And we see lot of products in the market like meat analog. We say the soybean chunk, soybean body, and so many other product. So and then there is other way to decrease this galactoside is enzymatic degradation. So enzyme alpha galactosidase really present in pulses, can be utilized by different methods to break down the alpha galactosides. And how it can do, so this alpha galactosidase cleaves the galactosides at the alpha 1,6 linkage, and therefore it produces sucrose molecules and free galactose residues. So therefore, the processing methods that can utilize enzyme already present in the pulses, such as germination, sprouting, or externally one can add enzyme and the cotyledon of the sprout or the pulse can be modified. So germination is most common method or traditional cheap method, wherein this dormant alpha galactosidase in the seed can be modified or activated, and then that can act on this alpha galactosidase to degrade it into smaller unit. Okay, also fermentation is most commonly used, wherein fermentation of the soybean seed in production of natto is very common in Japan or China. Okay, fermentation of the pulses. So fermentation uses this alpha galactosidase from the bacteria and the yeast that is being used in the fermentation, and then the this enzyme from this yeast or bacteria act on the alpha galactosidase galactoside, and then it degrade it into sucrose molecule and free galactose residues. So germination is most commonly used. See, this is a moth bean, this is a green gram, ये chana hai और ये lentil hai. So germination is the most commonly used traditional method in which plant seeds are deliberately placed in optimal environmental condition. We have seen germination before malting in detail, the conditions, the changes that are taking place, biochemical changes, nutritional changes, physical modification, all that we have referred. Please refer to the past recordings. Okay, such that the seed is able to sprout germ within. So the act of developing the germ into sprout uses up the sugar, it also modifies the starch, it modifies the lipid, it modifies the proteins. Overall, complex constituent in the food are converted into simple form due to the action of the enzyme that are activated due to the environmental condition that we are placing in these seeds. It has been widely used as a method to improve the nutritional content, such as vitamin E increases or water soluble vitamins are increased and the digestibility is improved. It becomes more tasty, sugary, digestible. Okay, so this alpha galactosidase activity is enhanced. The enzyme gets activated due to germination and then it breaks down the alpha galactoside into the smaller unit. Okay, fermentation, as I said, this is the natto, commonly consumed product in Japan and China. So the first fermentation occurs by either utilizing the microorganism already present. Like there is one more product like hummus is made from fermented chickpeas. Okay, fermented chickpeas. So either these microorganisms are naturally present onto the surface of the seed, that is called as a natural fermentation, or they can be externally added by inoculating the seeds with the various strains of bacteria or mold. It is called as a induced fermentation. So what happens, we all know what happens during fermentation. So these bacteria acts onto the substrate and they convert again the complex constituent into simpler form and then they produce gas, and therefore the nutritional content increases and anti-nutritional factor decreases due to the action of the enzyme. So again here alpha galactosides are broken due to the action of alpha galactosidase enzyme that is present in the inoculum, that is induced fermentation. Okay, due to the induced fermentation. So there here legumes emerges as a changed product, tastier product, flavorful product, novel product, functional product with a improved nutritional content like high vitamin, especially B vitamins. Okay, and other vitamins. So this is one of the foremost factor that is successful fermentation is the duration for which the pulse is fermented, temperature. We know that there are various parameters of the fermentation that one should look for: the time, temperature, aeration, presence of oxygen. Okay, so there are different ways to do this. So fermenting soybean, this is called as a glycine max. These are the soybean with the mold Rhizopus oligosporus. It's a very common in the western country like Japan. Over several days, not just one day, 2 day, but there are several days. Then the stachyose content decrease, like oligosaccharide decrease from 1% to 0%. Okay, to almost very less percent, that is 0.6% at 48 hours. So what initially at 0 hour it was 1.25%, and after 24 hour it is reduced to 1.1, but after 48 hour you see 0.6%. Similar decreasing trend was observed in Vigna unguiculata. So these are those Vigna unguiculata seed, and no, these are the macrotyloma seeds. Okay, macrotyloma seeds, a variety of like wal we call it, na wal or papdi we call, and these are your Vigna chauri, Vigna unguiculata. So there are radiations also given, such as applying gamma radiations to these alpha galactosides. These alpha galactosides or oligosaccharides are then degraded into alpha 1,6. They are cleaved at the point of alpha 1,6 bond between the galactosides due to these electrons produced by the radiation, gamma radiations, and this is upcoming cold technology wherein this is a very good method which is breaking down the sugar without any adverse sensory effect or change in functionality. Because if you look at the other methods, there is a change in functionality of starch, protein, but this is the method in which these directly alpha galactosides are broken down. So various dose of gamma radiations were tried, and there was a greater decrease of raffinose content in Phageolus aureus beans were observed from 15% at 1 kilo grade to 45% at 10 kilo grade. So you can imagine from 15% to 45%, it's almost 50% of the galactosides were reduced. Stachyose and verbascose content in the Phageolus aureus was observed again the same trend. Okay, very good reduction in these anti-nutritional factors. The products of these radiolytic breakdown were found to be glucose, galactose. So these alpha galactoside were broken down into glucose, galactose, mallebiose, smaller units of these alpha galactosides which are digestible. Okay, so alpha galactose, 1,6 glucose, which are very very easy to digest. Okay, and these were the similar products that were obtained by the enzymatic breakdown. So there is a more common trend that is being used called as a combining various methods. So multiple processing methods are combined together to achieve the 100% reduction in the alpha galactoside content. For example, if you soak the pulses and then irradiate, okay, gamma irradiation. So soaking will reduce 50% of the alpha galactosides and remaining 50% will be removed by the gamma irradiation. So or one can soak and pressure cook or soak and autoclave. So these are the most common ones that are already being extensively used in the household. So we have seen that soaking and pulses before cooking can effectively remove these alpha galactosides, and therefore the digestibility could be improved, palatability, texture, color could be improved. So greatest reduction was observed on the third day of germination for all pulses such as Phageolus aureus, Vicia faba, Cicer aeratinum like tur dal, Dolichos biflorus, Vigna unguiculata, and so on and so forth. Okay, so in conclusion, on anti-nutritional factor, the pulses are really good source of protein and they have a very good dietary fiber. But at the same time, there is a presence of these flatulence causing anti-nutritional factors called as alpha galactosides, which results into decreased digestibility, and therefore you may not get the protein that you are consuming or the amino acids that are consumed. So it has a like a direct implication on the nutritional benefit, health benefits of the that we derive from the pulses. So there are various methods that have been tested and effective in removing these alpha galactosides from the different pulses, like soaking into the water, which reduces around 20 to 70% of alpha galactosides. It's a very easy and low cost method and being used in the home very oftenly on day to day basis. Then cooking, without cooking we do not consume anything, so almost 30 to 90% of alpha galactosides were removed effectively. Thermal degradation either by pressure cooking or open cooking can also remove. Extrusion is one of the best technology and novel technology which can reduce up to 80% of these galactosides and also results into the novel products that have modified structure, texture or modified taste, more palatability, more digestibility, and it reduces these alpha galactosides very very effectively. Enzymatic degradation is one of the again another method, like traditional methods such as fermentation, germinations can achieve even 100% of removal if they can be combined with the other methods. So with this, I